Welcome into Post Game Live on Channel BSR. I'm Zach Wilt from Baltimore Sports Report, joined by Scott Magnus from Bird's Eye View. What's going on tonight, Scott?
Not too much. Enjoying a short baseball game, with lots of runs scored.
You are a liar. You are a liar.
Yes.
It's the complete opposite tonight. I don't know how we ended up with a 3-hour and 45-minute game, but we had a 3-hour and 45-minute game. And for those that are leaving Baltimore right now, I just saw that the brand new casino's open, and I'm sure traffic is going to be delightful getting out of there. So by 1, 2 in the morning, I'm sure they'll be home. So best of luck. Godspeed to everybody leaving Baltimore.
Well, Zach, I've got my drink here. What's your drink of the week?
Oh man, I know. I always enjoy listening to your and Jake's drink of the week. I have water because I have about a 4 a.m. wake up coming up. So I'm pretty lame tonight. I apologize.
Well, Zach, I've got a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale from Whitey's Liquors. So go
Love
Whitey's.
Love it. Awesome. I don't know if you're lying or not, but we'll just
Nope.
go with you not lying on that. So
Nope, I had to go out there and take a look at their awesome growler selection. So great job for Whitey's. I'll be going out there to fill my growlers up because there is nowhere in Harford County to go into a liquor distributor and get your growler filled up. You actually have to go to a brewery to do so. And
nice.
yeah, I definitely am very impressed by Whitey's selection. So
Awesome,
keep up the
man.
good work.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. Hopefully they're listening. So Orioles pick up a 4-2 win over the Tampa Bay Rays. As we look at the line score, so 4-2 victory. Brad Brock gets the win in relief. He is 5-0, and I know you love wins and losses. Brad Brock's 5-0 with a 2.47 ERA. Scott,
I love wins and losses, especially for relievers. It's my favorite stat in the world.
isn't it fantastic?
Yes.
A good part of the loss tonight is that Grant Balfour, in all his rage, picked up his 6th loss of the season, 1-6 in this one, and his ERA is up to 5.5. And Zach Britton gets a save, 28, 1.98 ERA for Zach Britton. So there's your line score. As far as key contributors go, I feel like we should start with Nick Markakis, who was cool. And then has begun to warm up again. Maybe he just doesn't like day game baseball. I don't know, but definitely a key contributor. I think in this one tonight, Scott.
Definitely. I mean, you go back to that 8th inning with that one catch that he made. I think that was a big play in order to not have the game stretch out any longer than it needed to. But I posted something on Twitter tonight on Bird's Eye View BAL, and it was the one thing that Markakis has been doing lately in the past 5 games is he's been putting a lot of balls in the air, a lot of fly balls. He's basically putting 50% plus in terms of all his balls in the air, which is really unusual for him. He's oftentimes a line drive / ground ball pitcher. And if you go back to last year in 2013, Markakis at the end of last season started putting balls into the air again, and his BABIP, which we talked about on Bird's Eye View's podcast this past week.
When you say talk about, I mean you're not really doing what you guys were saying justice here. I mean there was some singing, a little bit of screaming going on. Let's not just use the word talk when referring to BABIP.
Look, all I'm going to say is go to BaltimoreSportsReport.com, look for the newest edition of Bird's Eye View, and you can see all the shenanigans that we had about BABIP.
It's well worth the listen, absolutely.
But it's actually really interesting taking a look at Nick Markakis' stats. I actually went over to BaseballSavant.com, and you can actually break it out, seeing what their batting averages is for balls in play. And on ground balls, Nick Markakis' batting average is actually at 269, which is a lot better than the league average, which is right around 210. So Nick Markakis actually has a pretty decent batting average for ground balls. So when those ground balls start to drop and fly balls increase, you're going to see a decrease in batting average for Nick Markakis. Funny thing, though, Zach, guess who's in the top 10 for batting averaging for ground balls on this team?
Man, Adam Jones.
Adam Jones is close, but he's not in the top 10.
Really?
The individual that you would never guess, J.J. Hardy, is in the top 10 for Major League Baseball
Really?
for batting average on ground balls.
That really, really surprises me.
Juan Uribe is up there too, so that just tells you how accurate how good those stats actually are. But
wow, that's pretty nuts. So good to see Markakis get back at it, like you mentioned. Cooled off over the weekend, but 1 for 5 defensively. Obviously, a big play. That was one of my defensive highlights there in the 8th with Andrew Miller coming in. Chris Davis, though, I know we beat up on Chris Davis, and the batting average is below 200. He went 0 for 3 tonight with just 1 strikeout, which I guess is kind of a win. But again, I felt like every time he came up, Gary Thorne was talking about, and he grounds one into the shift, But That's not the reason he's a key contributor tonight, Scott. It's all about the defense for Chris Davis at third this evening.
He had some great plays in terms of that barehanded pickup. But again, let's go back to the first inning where he basically was a monumental part of that double play. Looking the runner back at third base and then throwing the ball to first allowed Pierce to throw back home and allowed Joseph to actually make that tag. That's a great heads-up play. But Chris Davis made some really great athletic plays. It looks like he's starting to get the feel for that position now and starting to get the ability to feel out that range for some of his throws, whereas earlier on this season when he was playing third base, he was overthrowing or throwing left or right of the first baseman as well.
That throw home was big, and you mentioned Joseph making the catch. Really impressive. I'm impressed anytime a catcher with our new home plate collision rules in Major League Baseball is able to make a play like that where he's got to reach over where the runner's sliding. I mean, the throw definitely beat the runner, but you just never know how that sort of thing is going to go. And honestly, Scott, these catchers have so much running through their heads about what they can and can't do anymore that in that sort of bang-bang play, barehanded by Davis, thrown at home, I was really impressed with Joseph's side of that as well.
I was actually more impressed with Joe Madden basically saying, I need to get out there before the pitcher gets back on the mound so I don't have to file a protest for this game. So
That's a very good point. How about Wei and Chen in this one? I'm curious to get your take of both starting pitchers. I want to talk about Cobb in a second, but Wei and Chen just 4 2/3, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks. He didn't record a strikeout in this one. 91 pitches in those 4 2/3 innings. What did you think of Chen's performance tonight?
I would say it was an abomination compared to what he's been doing for the entire season. 3 walks tonight for Chen, who's only had 25 walks on the entire season. He also gave up 7 hits in 4 2/3 innings. This is not the Wei and Chen that we have been seeing throughout the season. This comes back to pitchers sometimes have bad games. Chen was not on his game tonight, and it showed very quickly. Fortunately, the Orioles are able to use their great bullpen, which has kept them in games, and has basically defied sabermetricians of why this team is so good. So kudos for Buck going to the bullpen and not being reluctant to say, "Oh, Chen's only at 90 pitches. I really don't want to go to the bullpen yet." Buck knows that September is coming and arms are out there, so we might as well go ahead and use them.
Yeah, no doubt. I felt like this one really, the defense, some plays really worked out in their favor. I know Orioles fans don't like to hear the word luck, but I feel like there was a little bit of luck involved in limiting the damage to Wei and Chen. 2 earned runs on 7 hits. I feel like it could have been a lot worse in this one, and no strikeouts. Getting around the 3 walks. I wasn't impressed with what we saw from Chen tonight, but on the other side, I wasn't impressed with what we saw from Cobb tonight too, and that's sort of, I guess this is a perfect way to transition into our highlights and lowlights. Because
Good segue.
You like that?
That's nice. Nice.
4-hour game, and I'm on the mark.
Yeah.
Alex Cobb, getting Alex Cobb out of there after 4 innings and 92 pitches. 4 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 6 Ks for Cobb. That's my highlight, is getting to this bullpen, the Orioles offense, having some patient at-bats, working the count. Nick Markakis even tried to shortchange himself 1 pitch and got back in there, and even though he struck out, hey, it's 1 more pitch on Cobb. So I was really impressed with the Orioles' ability to do that. What did you think of their game plan against Cobb?
This is probably the most disciplined plate appearances that I've seen the Baltimore Orioles have this entire season. It actually almost looked like a Red Sox-Yankees game, and actually the time of the game actually reflects that as well.
Yeah, it did.
But again, it was, you watch that game and you're like, who are these guys that are taking this many walks? It wasn't like Cobb was really off. That pitch that he was throwing down right at the knees, right on the inside or outside the portion of the plate for batters, I would look at it and I was like, another home plate umpire might give it a strike call, but the Orioles were like, okay, if that's the strike zone, we're not going to swing at it, and they held to it for every single person in that lineup. It wasn't just 1 batter or 2 batters. The majority of the lineup all was very patient at the plate tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So what's your highlight then?
My highlight actually comes back to plate discipline as well, and it's going to come back to Delmon Young in the top of the 4th inning. Nelson Cruz had singled, and then Delmon Young came up to the plate and worked a 9-pitch walk to put men on first and second. That set up the situation where J.J. Hardy flew out to right field, allowed Nelson Cruz to go to third base, so you have men on first and third. And then Delmon Young took second base, so you have men on second and third with 2 outs, and Caleb Joseph banked into some runs by singling a line drive to center field. So, I mean, what else more can you ask for? That's just small-time baseball, and that's a good thing to see with the Baltimore Orioles right now.
No doubt. I think I kind of spoiled your low light, but we got to hit on it. Give me your low light here.
my light has to be the umpire's review of the 3-2 count on Nick Markakis. I mean, that was absolutely atrocious. There was Orioles Gifts actually posted a quick picture of Buck laughing at the situation and kind of giving a little smile like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? But it was just really, is this what baseball has turned into? And the other thing is, too, I mean, I can understand they had to come back and be like, okay, let's make sure we got the call right. But the review took so long that it should have been headphones come on, headphones come off. All right, it's 3-2.
Right. The thing I particularly enjoyed about that was the fact that it came right after Gary Thorne was just on a little, not even a rant, but just a little conversation about pace of game and about how, well, they're doing this research about how, they can speed up the pace of game, and I don't really know, what they can do, and then bam, we get an instant replay because the umpires don't know what the freaking count is on Nick Markakis' at-bat. Just hilarious. Yeah, that's a pretty good low light.
I will say this, that the Atlantic League has been looking at pace of game and trying to speed up pitchers and keeping them to a given time period, and they have lessened games by up to 15 minutes by keeping a pace of game. So could it make a difference? Yes. But, really this whole situation boils down to TV commercials, and it's not just pace of game in terms of the pitchers. It's really going to come back to it's all about the media.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think we'll see, and it's a little bit off tangent, but I don't think we'll see any sort of substantial changes. My low light, I kind of teased it, and Scott, you used the word abomination after the way this guy's pitched, but Wei-Yin Chen, I mean, no strikeouts in this one, and 91 pitches in 4 2/3 innings. The Orioles pick up the win, so I can't be too frustrated with it, but it really defense kind of bailed him out. Really could have been a lot worse than it ended up being, and the offense scoring 4 runs. I feel like a couple balls don't go his way, and they're going to need 5, 6, 7 runs to pick up the victory tonight. So my low light is what we saw from the starter.
Yeah, I guess the word abomination really isn't the best way to describe the whole situation. I'd consider it to be a better word to be outlier. I mean, this is not the situation where we really see Wei-Yin Chen consistently pitching. Even at the beginning of the season, you were harping on Chen was getting demolished, and it comes back to my favorite word, BABIP. His BABIP was over 300 for a majority of those games against the Red Sox earlier this season. So I consider Wei-Yin Chen to be the second best pitcher on this team. This was just an outlier game. It wasn't a good game for him, but it was an abomination in terms of what we've come to expect for Wei-Yin Chen. But he certainly is our second best pitcher right now in this rotation.
I totally agree with you, and I'm a big fan of the guy. Here's a question that got a little bit heated on our podcast this week, and I'm curious to get your take as a numbers guy, Scott. Wei-Yin Chen, historically, in August and September, the numbers, the ERA inflates. If you want to go with FIP, that inflates. WHIP, he's putting more base runners on, whatever stat you want to go with. He's not as effective later on in the season, which means to me he gets burned out. Yankees lose tonight. Orioles lead in the AL East is up to 7 games.
Jump back on the bandwagon.
That's right. Jump back on the bandwagon. I think right now it's too early to say, hey, let's skip Wei-Yin Chen, because they're going to need him in October. But if the Orioles are in this situation where they have a 6-7 game lead 2 weeks from now, is it that crazy to rest him and hope that you can save some innings when the games mean a little bit more?
I don't think it's going to hurt to rest him, but I would also come back and point out, Zach, that you got a really small sample size there. You really only have 2012 where he pitched the entire season. Last season, he didn't pitch the whole season because, again, he got injured.
That's true.
So to come back and say, yeah, in 2012 he had a rough month there. Big deal. So what? Who cares? He had one rough month in 1 year. I mean, can we really make a determination of saying, he's getting gassed there because he had one bad month? Players go through bad months all the time. I'm just going to chalk it up as, it's not that big a deal. You saw his performance in October there of 2012. I have nothing to worry about with Wei-Yin Chen.
All right. I like it. I'm feeling more optimistic already. We talked a little bit about the offense, but I really wanted to point out 2 great at-bats from Caleb Joseph. And I know it's kind of cliche to say, different guys from this team have stepped up at different times. I was really impressed by what we saw from Cijo tonight.
What? Who?
We had to get that.
There's not going to be any Cijo or whatever. It's going to be Throsif, okay? Throsif.
I like that Cijo's off, but Throsif is okay.
Throsif is perfectly okay, but Cijo, no, that's not going to work, okay?
What did you think of him at the dish, though? Can we talk about that?
Oh, well, Caleb Joseph is absolutely amazing at the dish, both in terms of offense and defensive. Again, the defensive play calling that he's been making at the plate, and again, like you stated, some of his positioning at the plate for making these sweep tags and everything have been absolutely beautiful. Caleb Joseph has absolutely adapted to being a major league pitcher, whereas that first month he was up here, he was tentative at best, but he's really embraced his situation, and he's made the most of it, and there's no question in my mind that you can see him as a member of this team throughout the season and also into next year as well.
I have to admit something to you here, Scott, while we're streaming live in front of everybody.
All right, this is Taxi Cab Confessions, everybody.
Yeah, this could take me down a dark place. But bottom of the sixth inning, game's tied 2-2. Jonathan Schoop up in a big situation with 2 outs, and I got to tell you, the approach that I've seen Jonathan Schoop deep in counts in 2-out situations when he just needs to get a guy in has been a little frustrating for me at times.
Well, we've already seen that earlier tonight, where he basically gave up a big opportunity to get some left on base. I guess it was in the second inning. So
right.
I'm not going to argue with you about this at all.
So I had the iPhone in hand, ready to say, shorten up the swing, Schoop. Don't need a home run, just drive a guy in. But I was really impressed by what I saw in the bottom of the sixth, getting the single, getting Chris Davis to score, moving Caleb Joseph over to third. That's really what I want to see from him in this type of situation. I feel like all too often we see Jonathan Schoop in a big situation. He gets 2 strikes on him, and he's still swinging out of his shoes trying to hit a home run when really all that he needs to do is push a guy across the plate. So I'm tipping my cap to him here in the 6th inning when that at bat.
I think we got to tip our cap to Caleb Joseph and Jonathan Schoop, both also on delivering with 2 outs as well. I mean, it's a situation of you could move runners across, but again, when you need that big hit, they were clutch tonight. So let's just say their WPA maybe increased slightly today.
Glad to see it. We mentioned the defense. Anything else on offense you wanted to hit on before we move on to defense and pitching?
I still like the situation of you had 4 walks tonight. Anytime the Orioles get 4 walks, it's oh my gosh, I can't believe we actually walked tonight.
Yeah, it seems very rare. As far as defense goes, we mentioned what Chris Davis did tonight. The diving stop in the 8th inning from Nick Markakis with Andrew Miller in. Very impressed by that. So I think we should move on to pitching. And we talked about Wei-Yin Chen. To me, big pitching takeaway is what Brad Brock did, coming in relief for Wei-Yin Chen in the 5th inning, striking out Will Myers swinging. Got in a little bit of trouble in the 6th. Got Yunel Escobar to ground out, walked Loney, Hannigan singled. Joyce walked, and then you're starting to think, oh man, this is not looking good in a tie game here. Well, Desmond Jennings grounds into a fielder's choice. That was the play, obviously, that we mentioned. And then Ben Zobrist flies out to left. So Brock gets it done, gets out of the jam that he created, and I was impressed by what I saw in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, the other situation I want to come back to is that fly out to left field. I think we need to pop back into defense. Delvin Young can no longer play left field. I'm sorry. I'm calling it right here, folks. That glove needs to be taken away from him, dropped in a can, gasoline poured on it, and a match just dropped into it and say, I'm sorry,
a wood chipper.
It's not happening anymore. So I understand, Cruz needs his time off, and he can't be out there every single day in left field. But by God, it's ugly. It is so ugly.
It's so hard after seeing Adam Jones rob Evan Longoria of a home run and then catch a runner at second and then see a fly ball hit the left and just hold your breath in hopes that Delvin Young's going to make it back to it. It's very scary.
It's worse than that. When you make Nelson Cruz look good in the outfield, that tells you how bad it is.
It's a very, very good point. Any other pitching takeaways you wanted to mention?
I'm going to come back to the situation of, we've been talking about Britton, Miller, and O'Day being the 3 people that can shut down the game, but Tommy Hunter really is a big portion of this bullpen as well. Yes, he got kicked out of the closer earlier this season, but Tommy Hunter is going to serve in a pivotal role for this bullpen moving forward. I think Tommy Hunter can still be a great member of this bullpen, and him coming in and shutting down in the 7th inning, I'm going to give a tip of the cap to Tommy Hunter. I just want to keep seeing those kind of performances from him throughout the rest of August and into September.
No doubt. Yeah, really good to see. So bottom line takeaways, I'll get started. The Orioles won a game without hitting a home run, Scott. I mean, that's huge to me after seeing what they did last night. So it's always good to see this offense produce runs when they're not coming via the long ball. I'm thrilled with it. What's your bottom line takeaway?
I will point out, too, they were 3 for 14 with runners in scoring position. But they did play.
I don't hear you. What?
Yeah, but they did play small ball tonight, and they should have had a sack fly on Nelson Cruz's double, but Gary Thorne miscalled that. But
that wasn't barehanded.
No, it wasn't barehanded. My personal impression that I'm taking away from this is you basically had your worst series coming against the Cubs. You put 2 games together against 2 really good pitchers in Odorizzi and Cobb, and you basically have made them look absolutely atrocious. And not to mention, you've gained another game on the Yankees. People, we've talked about this on our last podcast. Stop jumping off the bandwagon. This is absolutely ridiculous. You still have a 90+% chance to win this division. Yeah. This team is not going to collapse. There's no way that Buck is going to let that happen. There's no way that Jones is going to let that happen. This team looks at defeat and just says, all right, it's time to move on, and it's not that big of a deal. The baseball season cannot be measured in 3-game increments. It has to be measured over longer periods than that. It really even can't be measured over 10-game increments, because if we did that, we'd go back to June when the Jays were on 10 in a row and be like, yep, the Jays are going to win this division.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a really good point. And that was a really good conversation on your guys' show this week. Just the highs and lows of the Orioles fan base. Buck says it all the time, right? Can't get too high with the wins, can't get too low with the losses. We've seen 2 nice wins here back-to-back. And hey, David Price's replacement is on the hill for the Rays tomorrow, so it only gets tougher, right? Drew Smyly versus Kevin Gausman in Game 3.
Yeah, I'm actually more interested to see what goes on with Kevin Gausman in this game than Drew Smyly. Kevin Gausman, for the past 3 games, has only gone 5 innings, and 6 innings for his past 3 games. I'd really like to see him get some distance, especially after coming off of this game where the bullpen was used. Is there a possibility they could go and pull some other people out of the bullpen? Absolutely. You've got McFarland, you've got Jimenez, but I really would love to see Kevin Gausman go 7+ innings tomorrow and really attack the plate tomorrow. He's been kind of nibbling at the plate, and though his strikeouts have been high and his walks have been low, he's had an elevated pitch count because of it. I'd really like to see him be aggressive and be similar to the way he was during that Red Sox game where he had to go at players and he was throwing 99-mile-per-hour fastballs and saying, I dare you to hit this ball.
No doubt. Well, we'll have another live broadcast on Thursday at BaltimoreSportsReport.com/live. And Scott, for those who haven't checked out Bird's Eye View this week, tell us what they can expect to hear.
You can hear singing, and you can hear yelling, and you can hear all kinds of discussions about the Luck Dragon. I also recommend that you go over to BaltimoreSportsReport.com and catch the rest of the Baltimore Sports Report Network from the BSR podcast, and also the Baltimoreans, who just put out their first episode in like 3 weeks. So there's a lot of new media out there right now on the Baltimore Sports Report Network. I highly recommend that you don't really do any work tomorrow and just put your headphones on and just listen to podcasts.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great idea. And our new Ravens podcast, The Call, is out. We'll have a new episode later tonight that if you're dying to get some Ravens news here in August, you can listen to The Call. So be sure to check that out as well. So, Scott, thanks so much for chatting with me tonight. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Something just came across Twitter, by the way. Apparently, Jabby's at the Horseshoe Casino tonight.
He's a liar.
Okay, he just said that he's at the Horseshoe Casino. Just saying.
I'm gonna text him.
Okay, you text him and say, "Old man, get back in bed."
Exactly. It's way past his bedtime.
Way past his bedtime. His wife is gonna have some scolding words for him. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, we'll get the word on that. We'll try to figure it out. So
all right, sounds good.
Follow Twitter, and we'll try to solve that mystery.
All right.
All right, for Scott, I'm Zach. Thanks for watching Postgame Live. We'll be back on Thursday.